Y News. President Rodrigo Duterte finally certifies as urgent the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law after meeting congressional leaders. Commission on Appointment panels endorsed to the plenary the formal approval of the nominations of Agrarian Reform Secretary John Castriciones and Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo. And the government launches a job online portal as its mega infrastructure project advances. Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte finally certifies as urgent the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law following his meeting with House and Senate leaders. Grace Casin tells us why.
Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque confirms Tuesday that the certification for the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law has been transmitted to the House and the Senate. This after some lawmakers met with President Rodrigo Duterte to present their versions of the proposed BBL in Malacanang last night. The certification comes before the Congress adjourns sine die.
As of a few minutes ago, the Office of the Executive Secretary issued a certification as urgent, both versions on the creation of the BBL pending in both the House of Representatives and in the Senate.
House Majority Floor Leader Rudy Fariñas says the President wants to ensure that under the final version of the BBL, the national government would still have the control over the military and police of the Bangsamoro region.
Of course, the defense, armed forces of the Philippines, the police. But I told him that in fairness to the BTC, they agreed that such will still be reserve powers.
There is no final decisions yet on the opt-in provision of the proposal. Under these areas near the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region will be part of it once 10 to 20% registered voters in the said area agreed to the provision through a plebiscite. However, Magdalo Party List Representative Gary Alejano opposes the provision.
Hindi po pwede magkaroon ng creeping expansion ang Bangsamoro government by providing plebiscite every 5 years for the next 25 years.
We can provide in the law that any opt-in or expansion will be as provided by law, by legislation na lang.
The lower house and the Bangsamoro Transition Commission agreed to put the COMELEC and the Commission on Audit in Bangsamoro region under the control of the national government. Amid the discussions, the independent minority of Congress still stands firm that the proposed BBL is unconstitutional, a matter opposed by Fariñas.
In order to abolish the arm, there should be a constitutional amendment. In this particular instance, the BBL is like putting the cart before the horse.
Hindi, yun ang kanilang point. I-abolish nga ng BBL yung ARMM.
So hindi na sir kailangan i-amend ang Constitution?
Hindi na, for the BBL, hindi na. But another option would be to wait for the CONAS, but dito na kami sa BBL.
Once the BBL passes, the Senate and the lower house will convene a bicameral conference, although they are in a session break. The chief executive targets to sign the bill into law on July 23, several hours before his third State of the Nation address. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Commission on Appointment panel endorses the formal appointment of Agrarian Reform Secretary John Castriciones and Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo to the plenary. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The Commission on Appointments Committee on Agrarian Reform finally approves the nomination of Secretary John Castriciones after facing the panel for the second time today. Panel Chairperson Senator Grace Poe says 13 members voted for Castriciones' nomination and only 2 objected during an executive session. She adds she will report their recommendation to the CA plenary on Wednesday.
Ipapaalala ko siguro sa aking sponsorship speech, bagamat ay nanaig at nanalo siya at na-confirm siya, marami siyang dapat isaayos.
During the confirmation hearing, 5 oppositors faced the panel while groups opposing and supporting the appointment of Castraciones gathered in front of the Senate. Meanwhile, the CA panel on Tourism and Economic Development also endorses the nomination of Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat to the plenary. The hearing only lasted for less than 10 minutes and no panel members objected. Puyat was appointed by President Duterte to replace then Secretary Thio, who resigned amid the controversial DOT advertisement deal. During the hearing, Puyat vows to prioritize improving policies and tourism infrastructure and reviewing the performances of tourism officials.
I said that I will review all their performances, and then if bagay sa under my watch, then we will retain them.
The two officials are expected to face the CA in plenary for their formal confirmation tomorrow. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development stresses that poor Filipino families need the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program despite claims of its ineffectiveness in alleviating poverty. Here's why from Ray Pelayo.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development is still convinced that the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program can uplift the life of poor Filipino families. Outgoing DSWD officer in charge, Undersecretary Emmanuel Leico, says around 4.4 million households are benefiting from the program and 1.3 million of them have reported improved living. This is in action to Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol's proposal to convert the 70 billion peso budget of 4Ps to a loan program.
Pagka tinanggal mo yung pantawid benefits sa kanila, marami ang magugutom. Marami sa kanila ang magugutom. Marami sa kanila ang mas magiging masahol pa yung kanilang pamumuhay.
Heidi De Puno's family is among those who benefit from the 4Ps for the past 5 years. They receive 4,800 pesos every 2 months for their health grant, rice subsidy, and educational grant for their 3 children. She says the program helps them financially since her husband has no permanent job and she earns a little as a street sweeper.
Mas okay na po yung ngayon kasi hindi naman po kami lang nakadepende sa pantawid, naghahanap buhay din po naman kami.
But Rosario Belia Guzman of the Ibon Foundation believes 4Ps did not reduce the poverty rate in the country in its 12 years of implementation.
Ang poverty alleviation program ay dapat hindi nakatuon sa cash transfer. Dapat ito ay nakatuon doon sa paglikha ng isang ekonomiya na lumilikha talaga ng trabaho at nagbibigay ng isang nakabubuhay na sahod.
Both Ibon Foundation and DSWD, however, agree to increase the budget of the Agriculture Department, but Leico stresses it should not be taken out of the 4Ps budget. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The government launches a job online portal as its mega infrastructure project advances. Joan Nano tells us why.
Job hunters may now access an online portal offering thousands of job openings that will be generated by the government's 8 trillion peso infrastructure program. The Jobs portal is available on the Build website, which posted an initial 11,000 jobs at today's launch. Public Works and Highway Secretary Mark Villar says they created the portal to make accessible to Filipinos the jobs that are available in construction projects. They will also see here the list of requirements and application process.
Po ng engineers, lahat po naghahanap ng trabaho, pwede na mag-apply. And ang kagandahan po ng jobs, nakapost na sa internet. So, it's accessible to all.
Villar adds the number of job offers will increase depending on the needs of employers. He also urges overseas Filipino workers to consider the job offers here as the government and its partners try to offer reasonable salaries.
Siyempre, depende po sa company, yung mga MPIC. Pero competitive na po yung mga salaries nila dahil napakalaki ang demand ngayon for engineers. Ang sweldo po is pag malakas ang demand, tataas din ang sweldo.
Interested applicants may visit www.build.gov.ph to inquire. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Caloocan City.
Vice President Leni Robredo joins the Brigada Eskwela 2018 in Wawa Elementary School in Banavota City today. According to the Vice President, the lack of space, buildings, and distance schools remain to be a challenge for students in the coming school opening.
Yung problema niya talaga, space na. Kailangan talaga ilang multi-story na yung mga buildings kasi kulang na space, padami yung estudyante. Sa mga probinsya naman, lalo na sa mga malalayo, yung distance talaga ng school.
The Vice President also believes that teachers' salary should be doubled as some still give their personal contribution to school needs. The opening of the school year 2018 to 2019 is just around the corner, and yet some schools still have no sufficient classrooms to accommodate students. Meanwhile, Boracay Police Task Force offers a free haircut and school supplies for students, while some volunteers from the Members Church of God International continue to troop to schools. Vincent Alboleda tells us why.
The Alauli Elementary School in Bataan rushes to address the lack of classrooms as the class opening draws near. 4 classrooms have been repaired and 2 more are being rehabilitated.
Dapat po kasi sa bawat isang grade and section, 1:45 po dapat. Napakaliit po ng ating paaralan, napakadami na rin po namin estudyante, so kulang po talaga kami sa mga classroom.
In Boracay, meanwhile, the Metro Police Task Force offers free haircut and tooth extraction to students. The police also distributes school supplies that students can use in the upcoming class opening. While in Bulacan, youth volunteers of the Members Church of God International cleaned and painted the buildings of the Dr. Felipe de Jesus National High School in the town of Plaridel. This is still part of the MCGI's participation in the 5-day Brigada Eskwela.
Hindi po namin in-expect na sa katulad po ng ganitong organisasyon ay tumulong po silang mag-participate sa pagpapaganda, pagpapaunlad at pagpe-prepare ng aming eskwelahan para po sa darating na pasukan.
Kahit po pagod, pawis, okay lang po kasi nakatulong na rin po kami sa kapwa estudyante po namin.
MCGA members also trooped to RC Quimpo Elementary School in Toril District, Davao City to help in the cleanup efforts. They also distribute school and sanitation supplies. While in Cagayan de Oro, they cleaned up the facilities of the Agusan National High School and provided free haircut to students.
Unfortunately, walang nag-initiate na libreng gupit or kayo pa lang talaga yung nag-offer.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, grants a 2-year reprieve for operators of old school service vehicles. Here's why from Monoxon.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, announces it will now implement stricter standards for school service. The agency will prohibit school service vehicles which are more than 15 years old. But it decides to give operators of over 15-year-old school service vehicles 2 more years of reprieve on the condition that they pass the Motor Vehicle Inspection System, or MVIS, of the Land Transportation Office. Celso de la Paz is glad with the LTFRB's decision as his school service is already more than 15 years old. After the 2-year reprieve, Celso should have already replaced his old school service vehicle with a new one. Celso's school service passed the MVIS, meaning it's safe to use.
Lahat ng aming mga unit na phase out ay ipinasok namin sa mga gawaan o talyer upang ito ay maayos at makakomply sa tanggal usok, tanggal bulok.
For those planning to get school service vehicles, here are some of the aspects you should look for. It should have LTFRB franchise and school accreditation. Should have proper markings, CCTV camera, medical kit, painted with yellow and zebra stripes, and its windows should have grills. It should also have front-facing seats with seat belt, as well as names and contact number of operator printed in the exterior. The LTFRB clarifies payment for school service is deregulated, but that is ready to hear complaints.
Masushow cause order ho kayo. We will either cancel or suspend your franchise if you will not be able to comply strictly with the requirements.
Parents have the right to select which school service they want to hire. but the LTFRB reminds them to choose the ones that comply with the policies of the agency, noting it's better to always err in the side of caution. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Modernly designed clothes made from Filipino indigenous materials gain praises and adoration from people from other races. Early Briones tells us why.
The exhibit, dubbed as the Philippine Heritage, Fashion, Textiles and Accessories, features some Filipino handcrafted products that surely exceeds the standards of modern and contemporary designs being created by famous fashion designers. Some foreign nationals in Australia witnessing the exhibit expressed their delight on how Filipino designers incorporated Philippine indigenous materials with modern clothing designs.
I've never seen something like this before, and I love the design.
I think there are like two main characters about this product. The first of all is that they are all like handmade. It takes a lot of time, and normally like the material are sometimes like very like global friendly, environmental friendly. I think that is very impressive.
Philippine Ambassador Minda Calatian Cruz says event like this exhibit is a perfect avenue to introduce Filipino culture into the world in deeper perspective.
And this is just right opportunity for all of us to use these platforms to be able to showcase our culture and to be able to make people understand us better and appreciate us better.
This exhibit not only aims to present the creation of designs from young Filipino fashion designers, but to also support the indigenous people that originally made the products. The ambassador also notes the support that will be rendered to the Filipino cultural and social enterprises does not only help our fellow Filipinos in the Philippines, as it also greatly contributes to making it known to the world that modern Filipinos is still instilled in their veins the traditional Filipino culture. Early Briones, UNTV News and Rescue, Canberra, Australia.
Next on Y News. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines places the entire Luzon grid under yellow alert. And the National Housing Authority admits design lapses in Zamboanga housing project. Y News will be right back. Meanwhile, stay tuned for Angelo Castro III. I'm Darlene Basingan. Good evening.
On Y News Tonight, former PNP Chief Ronald Dela Rosa plans to enforce Oplan Tokhang against smugglers. The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, orders Grab Philippines to explain imposition of minimum fare to passengers. And PhilHealth asks investigating bodies to look into the alleged corruption within the agency. Good evening. The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, questions Grab Philippines for supposedly imposing minimum fare to passengers. Here's why from Joanano.
The Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, grills Grab Philippines officials over its imposition of minimum fare to its passengers. In a hearing earlier, PBA Party List Representative Jericho Nograles claims Grab implemented minimum fare without prior approval.
Na hindi naman nila in-explain prior, wala pong public hearing, hindi po sila nagpetisyon. Wala rin po yan sa petisyon ng Grab for their January 2018 petition.
This surprised the agency, saying Grab PH did not inform it about the minimum fare.
Obviously not. Insofar as the computation of the minimum fare is concerned, compared to the base fare and in relation to the other factors to determine the fare.
But Grab insists it informed the LTFRB and the passengers of the said fare structure as it can be seen in its mobile application. It adds the minimum fare has been implemented since June of 2017, further explaining that the 80 pesos for Grab car service and 125 pesos for Grab Premium are only charged if the destinations are less than 3 kilometers.
We've never tried to hide anything from the general public. We've been upfront with our fares.
Based on Grab's approved fare structure, its current base fare is 40 pesos and 10 to 14 pesos per kilometer. In addition is the ×2 surge pricing. The previous 2 peso per minute travel time charge of Grab remains suspended. Despite having no prior approval, the LTFRB has no plan to suspend its implementation. Instead, it orders Grab to explain the basis of its current fare structure.
Not necessarily ipapatanggal, ipapaklaro lang. Kasi ang sinusunod naman natin dito, yung batayan doon sa 4 na elemento na pagdidetermina ng pamasahe.
Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Philippine Health Insurance Corporation urges investigating bodies to probe the alleged corruption within the agency. Nel Maribuhok tells us why.
The Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, has once again explained its financial status before the Congressional Oversight Committee. PhilHealth says it has already asked the Department of Justice, National Bureau of Investigation, and Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission to look into the alleged corruption within the agency.
We are not at liberty to disclose details, but we assure you that the new PhilHealth management is taking seriously reports of corruption within the organization.
PhilHealth is facing several issues such as its reported revenue loss of 8 billion pesos. But state insurance officials clarify there had only been double entries in the accounting of one of its regional offices. PhilHealth says it is also looking into 195 fraudulent cases involving those getting their claims, especially in pneumonia cases.
There's unusual pattern based on what I have identified, and the tendency for diagnosis to be shifted to other disease conditions.
Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito, meanwhile, is worried over the divulged 10.6 billion pesos worth of fund by PhilHealth from the Department of Health during the previous administration.
Itong 10.6 billion that was diverted na dapat for the benefit of the senior citizen, that was diverted for the rural health units and other projects of DOH, palagay ko ito yung isa sa malaking mabigat na pinapasan ngayon ng PhilHealth.
Despite all said issues, PhilHealth has once assured it's capable of doing its obligations. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Philippine Health Insurance Corporation proposes launching of an online portal in relation to the alleged unpaid claims of the agency. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, is opening an online portal hoping to address issues on the unpaid claims. This after the agency admits to having negligence in terms of accounting and system of release of claims, which resulted into the non-payments to hospitals that provided services to PhilHealth members. But the State Insurance Agency clarifies that not all names in the list of the Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines Incorporated, or PHAPI, are validated. In a meeting between PhilHealth and PHAPI last Friday, the alleged unpaid claims amounting to 700 million pesos were discussed. They also discovered that their records did not match.
Meron kami mga bayad na pero as per their record, hindi pa nababayadan. So baka kailangan talagang magkaroon ng reconciliation on the data.
The online portal might be launched in June in all PhilHealth accredited hospitals across the country.
Automatic na yon. Na they can see already or they can check the status of the claims that they have filed.
DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III supports the proposal, saying it's also part of the Health Information Data Analytics System the DOH wants to push through with its partner agencies.
So that the issues on pending claims are addressed more systematically.
But PHAPI says there is a need to thoroughly study the proposal.
Basta ang usapan namin, kailangan within 60 days babayadan nila yung hindi fraudulent claims. Portal will not always be effective kasi mabagal yung ating internet.
PHAPI says it will try its best to hold a meeting with PhilHealth every week on the unpaid health benefits to avoid declaring a hospital holiday. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
National Housing Authority admits lapses in designing of one of the housing resettlement projects for the victims of the Zamboanga siege. NHA General Manager Marcelino Escalada Jr. acknowledges this failure as the House Committee on Housing and Urban Development resumed its probe on the condition of the Zamboanga City Roadmap to Recovery and Reconstruction project today. He reveals that instead of using yakal and tambulihan species of wood, the local interagency council instead picked up the weaker jamelina and acacia to be used as a foundation not just for the footbridge but also for the stilt houses. The probe comes after some politicians fell off a footbridge that collapsed while inspecting the housing project.
We will look into the affairs of project implementation as far as our employees are concerned, as well as on the other hand, our contractor developers, Your Honor.
Vice President Leni Robredo accuses former Senator Bongbong Marcos of lying after the latter opposed her motion urging the Presidential Electoral Tribunal to uphold the 25% ballot shading threshold in the ongoing vice presidential race recount. Mai Bermudez explains why.
Vice presidential seat rivals trade barbs during the ongoing recount in the VP race of the Supreme Court, which serves as the Presidential Electoral Tribunal or PET. In the comment passed by Marcos to the PET yesterday, he insists that no COMELEC resolution indicates the 25% threshold or ballots with 1/4 shading may be used in the manual recount, adding COMELEC's manual audit guidelines and report cannot be used as a basis.
Si Aquino nanalo, 50% ang ginamit na shading. Si Jojo Binay, 50% ang nanalo, 50% ang ginamit na shading. Si Duterte, 50% ang ginamit na shading sa kanyang pagpanalo. Mula nung nagsimula ang AES ay nanalo, ginamit ang 50% shading.
Vice President Leni Robredo accuses him of lying.
Ako nagsisinungaling siya. Nagsisinungaling siya kasi yung records will show. Ang sinasabi niya 2010, 2013, 2016, ang threshold daw 50%. Hindi yun totoo.
It can be noted that Robredo's appeal cited COMELEC resolution used in the May 9, 2016 elections, indicating that ballots with 1/4 shade are valid, which should be used as a guideline in the ongoing recount on Marcos' electoral protest. The Vice President also responds to Marcos's allegation that she wants to change the present basis used by the PET.
Robredo wants to change the rules and have a special situation only for her, which is only doing in the middle of the recount. Kaya kataka-taka kung bakit kailangan extra special ang rules para sa kanya.
Yung nakakatakot lang nito, baka ito ay bahagi ng kanyang grand plan na gagawin ng lahat para lang makabalik sa kapangyarihan.
Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Navotas City.
Former PNP Chief Ronald Dela Rosa plans to enforce Oplan Tokhang against smugglers following his appointment as the new president of the Anti-Crime Council of the Philippines. Here's why from Monokson.
Ronald Bato de la Rosa is back to fighting crimes after he was appointed as the first president of the Anti-Crime Council of the Philippines, or ACCP. The ACCP is a newly formed group composed of representatives from different government agencies and private sectors. Its objective is to fight various types of crimes. De la Rosa says there is a huge possibility the group might employ the Oplan Tokhang, especially in preventing or eradicating smuggling activities.
Ano yung pinaka-objective ng organisasyon, which is to fight illicit trade. Then yun ang ating tututukan ngayon, how to help the government fight illicit trade, particularly yung smuggling.
The Philippines loses 200 billion pesos yearly due to smuggling. Federation of Philippine Industries President Jess Aranza says one reason for the prevalence of smuggling in the country is the trade law. Aranza cited as an example the prevalent smuggling of cigarettes due to its high value which is caused by huge taxes.
Ikaw ba, pag bagsak ang presyo sa isang country, pupunta ka? Ikaw gusto mo magbenta, smuggler ka, hindi ka pupunta, sayang lang pagod mo. Ha? Ang tutubuin mo, sintabo. Ang hinahanap nilang tutubuin, piso, 5 piso, 10 piso, dollar pa.
The Philippine National Police, meanwhile, supports Dela Rosa's proposal.
Probably ang suporta natin dito is on the security side. Kung talagang mangangailangan sila ng security or reinforcement coming from the Philippine National Police.
ACCP member businessmen will report smugglers to the PNP, which in turn will place them under Oplan Tokhang. The ACCP says it is ready to file charges against personalities found to have violated Philippine anti-smuggling laws. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
Akbayan Party List Representative Tom Villarin accuses Labor Undersecretary Jacinto Paras of stealing his cell phone. Paras, on the other hand, denies the allegation. Grace Casin explains why.
Akbayan Party List Representative Tom Villarin files criminal charges against Labor Undersecretary Jacinto Paras before the Quezon City Prosecutor's Office. Villarin accuses Paras of stealing his cell phone during a Congress hearing last March 20. A CCTV footage shows Paras while talking to Villarin, who claimed that his mobile phone was nowhere to be found after the former congressman approached him. They searched for an hour and found it at another conference room.
Habang nag-hearing po kami, nilapitan niya ako, no? At parang salisigang dinukot yung aking cellphone, no? Sinabi niya na kayo pala ni Senator Hontiveros ang magkasama.
Paras, on the other hand, strongly denies the accusation. He explains he might have just accidentally taken the cell phone of Villarin. The labor USEC also denied that he wants to retrieve some information from the cell phone of the lawmaker.
Hindi ko alam na nadala ko yung cellphone niya. I moved to another hearing room. So probably I have left it there. Paano ko naman kukunin yung informasyon sa kanya? Halos lahat na cellphone, mayroong passcode yan eh. Kung magnanakaw ako, di inuwi ko yung cellphone niya.
Paras says he is ready to face the court to clear his name. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines placed the entire Luzon grid under yellow alert from 1 to 2 in the afternoon today. This is due to the low electricity reserves brought by the emergency shutdown of several power plants. Though there are over 11,000 megawatts of available capacity, the region's demand peaked at more than 10,700 megawatts. During this time, consumers are advised to conserve power like unplugging appliances when not in use. Working from home could soon become a reality for Filipinos working in private sector, as the lower house approved a bill protecting home-based workers on Monday. House Bill number 7402, or the Telecommuting Act, seeks to allow workers a flexible arrangement where the employee may work in alternative workplace with the use of telecommunication or computer technologies. The program must not be less than the minimum labor standards and will include compensable and minimum number of work hours, overtime, rest days, and entitlement to leave benefits. Senate previously gave their nod to their version of the bill. The lower house also approves a bill seeking to raise the current 5,000 peso pension for senior war veterans to 20,000 pesos. The bill aims to honor the sacrifices of the senior war veterans and to help them meet their needs. President Rodrigo Duterte signs the Ease of Doing Business and Efficiency Government Service Delivery Act of 2018. The President believes the Republic Act 11032, amending the Anti-Red Tape Act of 2007, will solve the perennial problem of bureaucratic red tape in government institutions. The law requires government agencies to act on application within 3 days for simple transaction, 7 days for complex ones, and 20 days for the highly technical.
Local government are also mandated by this law to automate their business permit and licensing system and set up one-stop facilities, services, and to use online unified business application forms.
Up next on Y News. Privately funded Search for the missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 formally ends this week. Auction for the world's largest known freshwater pearl, the Sleeping Lion, to open in The Hague. And the Golden State Warriors sink ice-cold Rockets to head back to the finals. Stay tuned for William Thio. I'm Angelo Castro III. Good evening.
Good evening. Here are the top stories on Y News Tonight. President Rodrigo Duterte finally certifies as urgent the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law or BBL following his meeting with the congressional leaders in Malacanang last night. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the certification has been transmitted to the House and the Senate this afternoon. They target to sign the bill into law on July 23, several hours before Duterte's third State of the Nation address.
As of a few minutes ago, the Office of the Executive Secretary issued a certification as urgent, both versions on the creation of the BBL pending in both the House of Representatives and in the Senate.
The powerful Commission on Appointments is set to approve tomorrow the appointments of Agrarian Reform Secretary John Castro and Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat. This is after the two CA panels endorsed their nominations for formal approval to the plenary today. CA's Committee on Agrarian Reform Chairperson Senator Grace Poe says 13 members voted for Castraciones' nomination and only 2 objected during an executive session. While Tourism panel approved Romulo Puyat's nomination without any objection less than 10 minutes after its hearing started. Meanwhile, job seekers may now access an online portal offering thousands of jobs openings that will be generated by the government's 8 trillion peso infrastructure program. The Jobs portal is available on the build.gov website, which posted an initial 11,000 jobs at today's launch. Public Works and Highway Secretary Mark Villar says they created the portal to make accessible to Filipinos the jobs that are available in construction projects. It also features the list of requirements and application process. He also urged overseas Filipino workers to consider working here as the government and its partners try to offer reasonable salaries.
Siyempre, depende po sa company, yung mga MPIC. Pero competitive na po yung mga salaries nila dahil napakalaki ang demand ngayon for engineers. Ang sweldo po is pag malakas ang demand, tataas din ang sweldo.
In other news, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, questions Grab Philippines over its imposition of minimum fare to its passengers. This is following claims made by PBA Party List Representative Jericho Nograles that Grab implemented the minimum fare without prior approval. But Grab insists it informed the LTFRB and the passengers of the said fare structure, as it can be seen in its mobile application. It adds the minimum fare has been implemented since June 2017 and that the 80 pesos for Grab car service and 125 for Grab Premium are only charged if the destinations are less than 3 kilometers. Despite this, the LTFRB will not suspend its implementation and instead orders Grab to explain the basis of its current fare structure.
Not necessarily ipapatanggal, ipapaklaro lang. Kasi ang sinusunod naman natin dito, yung batayan doon sa 4 na elemento na pagdidetermina ng pamasahe.
The Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, urges investigating bodies to probe the alleged corruption within the agency. This is amid the issues that PhilHealth is facing, including the reported revenue loss of 8 billion pesos. Through agency officials clarify there had only been double entries in the accounting of one of its regional offices. The agency is also looking into 195 fraudulent cases involving those getting their claims, especially in pneumonia cases.
There's unusual pattern based on what I have identified, and the tendency for a diagnosis to be shifted to other disease conditions.
PhilHealth, however, assures it is capable of doing its obligations despite these issues. Former National Police Chief Ronald Bato Dela Rosa plans to use PNP's Oplan Tokhang against smugglers following his appointment as the first president of the Anti-Crime Council of the Philippines. The ACCP is a newly formed group composed of representatives from different government agencies and private sectors aimed at fighting various types of crimes. ACCP member businessmen will report smugglers to the National Police, which in turn will place them under Oplan Tokhang. The ACCP says it is ready to file charges against personalities found to have violated Philippine anti-smuggling laws.
Ano yung pinaka-objective ng organisasyon, which is to fight illicit trade. Then yun ang ating tututukan ngayon. How to help the government fight illicit trade, particularly smuggling.
And for the news abroad, here's Eric Ferrer live from Seoul, South Korea. Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, William. The privately funded search for the Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 formally ends this week. Malaysia agreed in January to pay US-based exploration firm Ocean Infinity up to $70 million if it finds the plane within 90 days. But it found nothing of the missing Boeing 777. Flight MH370 disappeared en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing on March 18, 2014, with 239 people aboard. Australia, China, and Malaysia ended their search in January last year. Investigators believe someone may have deliberately switched off the transponder of the Boeing 777 before diverting it over the Indian Ocean. Several pieces of aircraft debris have been collected from Indian Ocean islands and along Africa's east coast, with at least 3 confirmed as being from the missing plane. Japanese media reports on Tuesday a top aide to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un arrived in Singapore on Monday night, the latest indication that the on-again, off-again summit with US President Donald Trump is going ahead. NHK's report says Kim de facto Chief of Staff Kim Chang-son flew to Singapore via Beijing on Monday night. At the same time, a team of US government officials left US Yokota Air Base in Japan for Singapore on Monday. South Korea's Yonhap News Agency also reports on Tuesday that former North Korea spy chief and senior official Kim Yong-chol is headed to the US after stopping over in Beijing, presumably for talks with US officials regarding a possible summit between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and President Donald Trump. Italian President Sergio Mattarelli on Monday named economist Carlo Cottarelli as Italy's new interim prime minister. 64-year-old Cottarelli was summoned and asked to form a technical cabinet able to lead the country to snap elections either in late 2018 or early 2019, after the efforts by anti-establishment Five Star Movement and a right-wing league to form a coalition government failed on Sunday. After holding talks with the president for 1 hour, Cottarelli accepted the mandate, pledging a neutral government. Italy has been waiting for parties to agree on a coalition government after general elections on March 4 delivered inconclusive results. The doctors who treated a Russian former spy and his daughter after they were poisoned with a nerve agent in Britain say they don't know what the pair's long-term health outlook is and initially feared the incident could have been much worse. Sergei Skripal, a former colonel in Russia's military intelligence who betrayed dozens of agents to Britain, and daughter Yulia were found unconscious on a public bench in southern English city of Salisbury on March 4. Staff at Salisbury Hospital, where they were treated, told the BBC that some started to wonder whether they too would fall victim to the nerve agent. Asked about the long-term impact of poisoning on the Skripal's health, the hospital's medical director, Christine Blanchard, said the prognosis was uncertain.
I think the honest answer is that we don't know. We have a total world experience of treating 3 patients for the effects of Novichok poisoning. I I think it's safe to say that we're still learning.
Lava from the Kilauea volcano threatens more wells at Hawaii geothermal plant. Meanwhile, threats of flooding remains as subtropical storm Alberto drives inland in the U.S. Beverly Saison tells us why.
Flooding will remain the greatest concern across the southeastern United States as Alberta moves inland following landfall on the Florida Panhandle during the afternoon of Memorial Day. Governors of Florida, Mississippi, and Alabama declared states of emergencies ahead of the advancing subtropical storm. Alberta has failed to strengthen into a hurricane, but will still pose dangers to residents and those on vacation across the southeast.
I don't think we're going to leave. I think we'll stay here. Ride it out. I think we can handle it.
Meanwhile, in an advisory issued on Monday, the Department of Foreign Affairs urged Filipino communities in the states of Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi to take extra precaution and follow the warnings of local authorities as the storm enters the northern Gulf Coast. Filipinos who may require assistance in cases of emergency are requested to call 202-368-2767. Recovery efforts are underway in Ellicott City, Maryland on Monday, a day after it was hit by flooding for the second time in less than 2 years. Authorities in Howard County, Maryland said a 39-year-old man was missing after flash flooding. The man was swept away as he tried to help rescue people from flood waters. The area had barely recovered from a devastating flood about 2 years ago that killed 2 people and damaged dozens of buildings. A state of emergency was announced by Governor Larry Hogan. Lava from Hawaii's erupting Kilauea volcano threatened to cover more wells at a geothermal power station on Monday as a fresh blast from the crater sent an ash plume almost 15,000 feet into the sky. Lava engulfed the heads of 2 wells that tap into steam and gas deep in the Earth's core at the 38-megawatt Puna geothermal venture on Saturday. Its operators said it had not been able to assess the damage. Residents fear the wells may be explosive. Officials have said the power plant is safe. At least 82 homes have been destroyed in the southeast corner of the Big Island, and about 2,000 people have been ordered evacuated since Kilauea's once-in-a-century eruption started on May 3rd. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
And those are the latest news from other parts of the world. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Eric Ferrer, live from Seoul, South Korea. The Golden State Warriors will again face the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Championship Series. Meanwhile, Stan Wawrinka downplays knee injury after French Open first-round loss. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
Behind another extraordinary third quarter from Stephen Curry, the Golden State Warriors erased a 15-point deficit and claimed Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals with a 101-92 victory over the Houston Rockets on Monday at Toyota Center in Houston. Curry scored 14 of his 27 points in the third period as the Warriors secured their 4th consecutive berth in the NBA Finals. The championship series begins on Thursday in Oakland, California, with the Cleveland Cavaliers representing the Eastern Conference. The same 2 teams met in the previous 3 finals, with Golden State winning the title in 2015 and 2017, and Cleveland emerging as the champ in 2016. Former champion Stan Wawrinka was knocked out of the French Open in the first round when he lost 6-2, 3-6, 4-6, 7-6, 5-6-3 to Spain's Guillermo Garcia Lopez on Monday. The Swiss, who lifted the Musketeers Cup in 2015 and was runner-up in 2017, led 2-1 but seemed to struggle and eventually faded away after losing the 4th set tiebreak. Wawrinka, seated 23rd in Paris, has been clawing his way back to the top after undergoing 2 knee surgery operations last summer. The defeat was his second to Garcia Lopez in Paris after losing at the same stage 4 years ago. The FIFA World Cup trophy was unveiled in Russia's St. Petersburg by Brazilian World Cup winner Gilberto Silva. The unveiling was followed by a glittering celebration that included classical music and dance performances. The trophy, just off a world tour, is now being taken around Russia ahead of this summer's soccer championship. The World Cup kicks off on June 14 in Russia. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
France will grant resident papers to an illegal immigrant from Mali who scaled the facade of a Paris apartment block to save a boy dangling from a fourth-floor balcony. In a short meeting on Monday at the Élysée Palace, President Emmanuel Macron congratulated Mamadou Gassama for what he described as an exceptional act and said France would give him a job in the emergency services. Gassama told Macron that he tried to cross the Mediterranean in March 2014 to reach Italy but was caught by police. Apart from Gassama, France also granted citizenship in 2015 to Malian grocery worker Lassana Bathily after saving hostages' lives when an Islamist militant attacked a kosher supermarket in Paris. He arrived in France from Mali in 2006 and received his working papers 5 years later. Meanwhile, an extremely rare pearl will be turned over to the hands of a new owner. Tell us why, Nina Armilio.
The world's largest known freshwater pearl, dubbed the Sleeping Lion due to its irregular shape, will be auctioned on Thursday in The Hague. The sellers, a commercial group called the Amsterdam Pearl Society, revealed the pearl had once been owned by Catherine the Great of Russia and believe it comes from China. One pearl expert says the pearl is unique because it was formed in nature. One of the earliest accounts of the pearl was in the city archives of Amsterdam, which called it the Sleeping Lion Pearl, weighing 578 carats.
Most pearls you see today are all cultured, so in a way created by human intervention. This pearl is really formed by a mollusk, somewhere in a river or lake, living there.
The pearl's current owner, Herman Damis, who is the chairman of the Amsterdam Pearl Society, says he decided to sell the pearl because it is an important piece of nature and should be exhibited in a museum.
You can say, because I need a new car or something like that, but that's not the reason. The reason is that it is owned in a private collection. I think it's an important piece of nature and it had to be exhibited in a museum or an institution.
The auction on Thursday will be the first time in 240 years the pearl has been sold, and it is valued at $632,000. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news. May 29, 2018, I am William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.